That he who blesseth himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth. And he that sweareth in the earth shall swear by the God of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from thine eyes. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old. But the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build, and another inhabit. They shall not plant, and another eat. Whereas the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord.
This is exactly what the Most High is going to do with his elect, with the nation of Israel in general. Because the nation of Israel will be a nation of superhumans on the planet Earth. And this is what's coming.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth. And this series across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right. And what we're going to get into this morning, is finish out, the book of 2 Samuel. We made it to the 24th chapter. All right, the last chapter in the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel. Okay, and it goes into another, one of King David's sins, was him to number Israel. Okay, which was prohibited not to do unless commissioned by Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, which Moses was given the order, all right, from on high, to do that. King David wasn't. But it was a spirit on King David to do it. And the Lord was angry at Israel, so to kind of explain it, let's go to 2 Samuel, then we'll get the same account in Chronicles, just delve into it, because we serve, a power, all right, that judges in very unorthodox ways. He caused things to happen, just to bring judgment, Okay, because when you read 2 Samuel 24:1, it says, once again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel. So we have to look at the Lord's anger at Israel. So there's certain people that he wants to judge. So he causes certain things to happen, all right, so he can be justified in judging, okay, these particular Israelites. You see, it says, once again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he caused David to harm them by taking their census. Go and count the people of Israel and Judah, the Lord told him. Now, you say, well, the Lord gave him permission. Well, the Lord put a spirit on David, okay, and it was a spirit from the left hand side. All right, when you go to uh, Chronicles, okay, I think it's Chronicles 23. Uh, it might be second. Might be Chronicles 21. Let me see. All right, yeah, First Chronicles 21. All right, and this First Chronicles 21:1, it says Satan rose up against Israel and caused David to take a census of the people of Israel. So the Lord put, a wicked spirit, on King David to do this. Okay, and it will put, King David in the bind. All right, and the Lord wanted to bring, judgment on the large amount of Israelites, and this was the way he went about to do it. He allowed Satan, to possess, King David, okay, on the left hand side and take a census, which was off. Okay, so let's go here real quick. Isaiah 45, because the Lord controls both sides. You know, as we was brought up in the church, we was to think that Satan and the Most High was just at this, they just had this, rivalry. There was this constant war between evil and good. The Most High only controlling the good and Satan controlling everything evil. No, the Lord controls everything. Okay, left and right. All right, you go here to Isaiah 45. All right, and 7 says, I create the light and make darkness. I send good times and bad times. Okay, because I say in the Christian church, we was made to believe, just Satan was operating his own independent, entity, just doing what he wanted to do, wreaking havoc. And the Most High is trying to figure out how to stop him, trying to counter him. No, Satan answers to Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. Okay, and the scripture calls him one of the sons. All right, and he has a task on the left hand side. All right, to cause bad times. You see, he says, I, the Lord, am the one who does these things. All right, because as you go into the book of Job, so Satan, is dispatched from the throne. Okay. Now this is the book of Job, chapter 1. And 1 said there was once a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared the Most High and stayed away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. So like he said, he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 team of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. He also had many servants. He was in fact the richest person in that entire area. Job's son would take turns preparing feasts in their homes, and they would also invite their 3 sisters to celebrate with them. All right. With these celebrations ended, sometimes after several days, Job would purify his children. He would get up early in the morning, offer a burnt offering for them. For Job said to himself, perhaps my children have sinned and have cursed the Most High in their hearts. This was Job's regular practice. One day, the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves, okay, before the Lord, all right, and the accuser Satan came with them, okay, and you read this in the get this in the KJV. All right, this is Job 1-6, okay. So Satan, was summoned, all right, and if Satan was, this rebel, okay, the biker jacket on the Harley Davidson, the shades, you know, just as a rebel in the earth, all right, he wouldn't have been summoned, all right, he was in order. You see, it says, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered, all right, to the Lord Yahweh Bashemal Shah, and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it, okay, because Satan, okay, is what? He's dispatched from the Most High to carry out particular tasks on the left hand side. Right now, Satan is dispatched to deceive Esau. Like you look at what Esau was doing, this nigga is fully possessed by Satan to try to pull off the New World Order. And the Lord is doing this because he wants to judge a lot of people. This depopulation agenda that Esau has, well, the Lord wants, all right, to use Esau to judge a lot of people. Okay, that's why he has given this man this great sword, all right, and great authority on the left-hand side, because the Lord's going to use this man as a tool of judgment before he judged, man. You see? And as we understand the dynamic of these things, a lot of things make more sense. Okay, because I say the narrative of the Christian church, as if Satan, just out and about doing his own thing. No, Satan is dispatched. He's given task. And that's why you keep reading. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, and perfect and upright man, one that feared the Most High and eschewed evil. So the Lord, all right, brings up Job. You see? And Satan, lets you know that he's not doing his own thing because he has to be given permission, to go, all right, and be unleashed on Job. Okay, so then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear the Most High for naught? Hast thou not made a hedge about him? So Satan couldn't get through the hedge that was about Job. Okay, the Lord had to drop that hedge. Okay, it says, and about his house and about all that he have, thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance in the increase, all right, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now and touch all that he have, and he will curse thee to thy face. So Satan, is giving the rundown on Job, and he like, look, he got a hedge, you're blessing him, everything working in his favor, I can't get to him, but look, drop that hedge and let me get to him. All right, test that integrity that you think he got. Okay, showing you what? That Satan is dispatched from the throne. Okay, the Lord controls everything from his throne on the left and on the right. Okay, so Satan had to be dispatched, on particular tests. And at this time, I was reading about King David. Satan was dispatched, to be a wicked spirit on King David because the Lord wanted to judge a lot of Israelites. Okay, so as you keep reading down, all right, in the book of 2 Samuel, okay, it says, so the king said to Joab and the commanders of the army, take a census, all right, of all the tribes of Israel from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, so I may know how many people there are. But Joab replied to the king, because Joab he didn't want to do it. He was trying to talk him down out of it, but the Lord had put Satan on it, And remember what did Yahushua say to Peter when Peter was trying to stop him from going through the crucifixion? Okay, Yahushua say, "Get thee behind me, Satan," because he was talking to the demon that was on Peter at the time. Okay, they were trying to resist him from doing, all right, what he had to do. Okay, Satan can do. Hey, Satan just jump on random people around us to resist us from what we're trying to do. As he understanding that this is a spiritual war. Okay, hey, we wrestle against principalities, man, as the scriptures say. Okay, and it says, but Job replied to the king, may the Lord your power, all right, let you live to see 100 times as many people as there are now. But why, my lord the king, do you want to do this? It says, verse 24, but the king insisted that they take the census. So Joab and the commanders of the army went out to count the people of Israel. First, they crossed the Jordan and camped at Arar, south of the town in the valley, in the direction of Gad. They went on to Jazar, then to Gilead in the land of to, uh, Tatin Hadishi, and then Jan, all right, and around to Sidon. They came, all right, then they came to the fortress of Tyre and all the towns of the Hivites and Canaanites. Finally, they went to the south to Judah as far as Beersheba. Having gone through the entire land for 9 months and 20 days, they returned to Jerusalem. Joab reported the number of people to the king. There were 800,000 capable warriors in Israel who could handle the sword, and 500,000, all right, in Judah. But after he had taken the census, David's conscience began to bother him. So now the Lord took the demon off of him. Soon as he got him to finish that task, all right, that sin of counting the people, the demon left. And that's how demons operate, man. Demons will jump on you in a moment, you know, to do a particular thing. And once the mission, the task is accomplished by the demon, it'll leave. You see? You know, and that's why we have to always have this self-awareness, man, you know, to self-examine. Because you can be operating with a demon on you, thinking you in the right, you know. And I'm speaking from experience, man. Okay. And once you perform a particular task that demon have you looking crazy as hell, it'll leave and all your right senses will come back and you be tripping. You know, you're like, damn, I was tripping, you know? But so yeah, as soon as he numbers and he finished the numbering, you know, he had Joab and his men, you know, to number Israel, you know, his conscience or the spirit, okay, their right spirit was awakened back in him. Okay, it says, but after he had taken the census, David's conscience began to bother him, and he said to the Lord, I have sinned greatly by taking this census. Please forgive my guilt, Lord, for doing this foolish thing. You know, so that demon was off of him, and he was back seeing in his right mind. It said the next morning, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, who was David's seer. This was the message. Go and say to David, this is what the Lord says. I will give you three choices. Choose one of these punishments, and I will inflict it on you. All right. So Gad came to David and asked him, will you choose 3 years of famine throughout your land, 3 months of fleeing from your enemies, or 3 days of severe plague throughout your land? Think this over. Decide what answer I should give the Lord, all right, who sent me. So he's giving these three choices, you know, rather, 3 years of famine, 3 months of, being defeated by, his enemies, the surrounding armies, or, plague, all right, throughout the land. It says, verse 14, it says, I'm in a desperate situation. David replied to Gad, but let us fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercy is great. Do not let me fall into human hands. So he was like, look, out of all these options, I just deal with the plague that the Lord gonna send, because he like, I know the Lord is gonna have mercy. The heathens, they can be merciful. I'd rather deal with the Lord because the Lord understands mercy. People don't. You see, so he took his chances with letting the Lord plague him. Because he understood that the Lord had mercy, man. Okay, you see, the Lord, when it wouldn't go too far, you're gonna see, the Lord's mercy, man. You see, and Lord will, and this because this all ties into the sure mercies of David. Okay, and hopefully we fall under those mercies, man. Matter of fact, let's get this because we brought this out yesterday. When you go here to Isaiah, we go back, 2 Samuel. All right, so this is the book of Isaiah 56. Okay, because what David repented, he sinned but then he repented. Okay. Uh, 56. Might be 55. Yeah, Isaiah 55:6. It says, "Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call you upon him while he is near." And we seen King David, as he came back to his senses. He immediately, repented unto the Lord. And we've all, was had demons on us in the world, Satan on us in the world. Okay. And then, as we awaken, to who we are, we heard this word. That's why this word is so powerful, because it gets demons off us, man. That's why, scripture say, how can a young man cleanse his way except by taking heed to this word? So this word is a daily cleansing, man. It cleanses demons off us, man. When we read, you study, you do lessons, you go on fast, it's just getting demons off us, man. You see, literally, man. So as we awaken back to the truth, man, that we've been brought into, the mercy of the Lord, and it's keeping these demons at bay, man. And it's a continual process, man, because Satan, is always out to get, Satan is, like he said, he's going to and fro. Satan is going to and fro throughout the earth, man. Trying to see whom he can devour. That's why even I'm gonna get this. We're gonna go back to Isaiah. I want to get this in First Peter chapter 5. All right. All right. Yep. First Peter 5:8. It says, "Be sober, be vigilant." All right. And it says, "Be sober and vigilant." And being vigilant, man, is being, hard body in this truth, man, engulfed in this thing. That's what keeps us, a hedge around us being engulfed in this. When we start to operating outside, the ministry of outside of this wisdom, okay, and guess what? We are now in Satan's territory. Because remember, Satan, okay, runs this current society, man. Edom comes in, it says his energy is out of the working of Satan. Esau runs the earth through the energy of Satan. Everything outside the truth, outside the ministry, is in the workings of Satan, man. Okay, people are operating, okay, off Satan, a satanic belief system. Self-worship, out for self-gain, narcissistic. All those are Satan characteristics, man. Okay, so we have to understand that Satan is on these people in the earth, man. The spirit of Satan is heavily and is constantly increasing on these people, man. So we have to be vigilant, okay, in Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. You see? I want to see. Let's see what they give us some. Yep, because you go into the word vigilant, it says to be alertly watchful. Okay? Alertly watchful, especially to avoid, all right, danger. Okay? Just put it on the chat real quick. Yep. So you go into being vigilant. It says alertly watchful. All right. Especially to avoid danger. Okay. So we're to be sober. All right. To be level-headed. To be on point. All right. I know brothers in the military, now that they've done military service. I believe the brother that's on now, the brother One, Abad, Shalom to all you brothers. Okay. But you're in the military, man, you're constantly, you're trained to be very alert, okay, to be vigilant. You're out in the field. You see, so this is a spiritual war. So we're, commanded to be vigilant against Satan, man, and Pete. You got to recognize Satan on people and Satan in the situation. You know, you go to a restaurant, Satan be on the waitress to try to get you out of character. You know, certain people walk by, say random. You know, you got to be vigilant. Okay, in the spirit. Okay, because Satan is always trying to pull a play off, man. You know, so let's go back to the book of Isaiah. Um, okay, but it says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, all right, the ops, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeing whom he may devour." And that's Satan's task. You know, matter of fact, I gotta get this one since I got that. I believe that's John. Um, it might be Luke. Okay. Yep, it's Luke 22 and 31. All right. If I say Satan, you know, he's been commissioned, you know, to catch people slipping like the Lord. He has commandments from the Lord to see who he can catch slipping, man. You know, in the spirit, you know, and devour them, man. You know, and brothers, you know, that's been around and, you know, seen different camp members, you know, slipping in the spirit and Satan devour their ass, and now they're back in the world. Okay, it's a scary thing, man. All right, this is Luke 22 and 31. It said, "And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan have desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat." Okay, and you go into this word sift. Okay. Get this word sift in the Greek.
Strong's G 4617, Siniadzo.
Siniazo. All right, it says to sift, to shake in a sieve, by inward agitation, to try one's faith to the verge of overthrow. Okay, by inward agitation, to try one's faith to the verge of overthrow. And Satan is always trying to do that. He's set up to be the resistance to the faith, man. Okay, so he's always trying to find an angle, you know, to agitate, you know, and his goal is to overthrow, all right, our faith, man. You know, so we have to be vigilant, alertfully watchful. Okay, constantly self-examination and being honest, you know, with ourselves and these you know, examination, man. Because self-examination is pointless. You know, we're not going to be honest about it. Okay, this is 2 Samuel 24 and 14. All right, let me go back. All right, 2 Samuel 24 and 14. Let's start at 15. It says, "So the Lord sent a plague upon Israel that morning, and it lasted for 3 days. A total of 70,000 people died throughout the nation, from Dan in the north to Beersheba, okay, in the south. But as the angel, right, was preparing to destroy Jerusalem, the Lord relented and said to the death angel, 'Stop it, that is enough.' At that moment, the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Aranah, all right, the Jebusite, okay, which he lived, you know, in the region of the that used to be of the Jebusites, you know. Remember, King David conquered a lot of lands, you know, from Ham, you know, during his reign. Okay, so he had Israelites, you know, living in these places. Okay, that's why he had Uriah the Hittite. Okay, he's an Israelite, you know, he was dwelling, you know, his estates. Okay, one of the lands that formerly belonged, you know, to certain tribes of Canaan. Okay, even the whole Israel was named, all right, Canaan at one time. Okay, before, you know, Joshua, and then leading up to the time of King David, you know, began to conquer. Okay, and Israelites began to dwell in these different lands. Okay, so the Lord, sent the death angel, and he was getting busy, 70,000. The Lord wanted to kill those 70,000 anyway. All right. And this just was the way he went about doing it. All right. He wanted to kill those 70,000 anyway. Okay. And those angels, he had to stop the angel, because you go into how those angels operate, they get off on this. Okay. And see, the Lord is finna let loose these angels in the earth, man, and they get off on judging. They're always waiting to be this dispatched to get off, man. Okay. So like it. So you go to Psalms 103 and 20. It says, "Bless, all right, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, ye his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments." So like it. So this back in Psalms 103 and 20, it says, "Bless the Lord, ye his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearken unto the voice of the Lord." Okay, so the angels excel in strength, man. One angel, could take out the earth, the Lord wanted him to, showing you there's going to be overkill. And how will Shai come, because he's the most powerful. Okay, he's way more powerful than, the angels. So Yahweh Shai himself coming, and then you're going to have the innumerable angels with him. That's going to be overkill on Esau's kingdom, man. Esau, you done, man. You finished, man. The Lord got, the Lord got you a day numbered, man. You Edomites are done, man. When the Yahweh Shai and the angels come back, Esau done. Okay, and it says, "Bless ye the Lord, all ye his hosts, ye ministers of his that do his pleasure." Okay, so the ministers, the servants, all right, these angels, okay, they just waiting orders, all right, and they love to come do the Lord's pleasure in the earth, man. They love to come execute the Lord's will in the earth. Okay, and that angel, he was finna get busy. He was finna destroy Jerusalem, man. All right, but the Lord, stayed his hand. That was that mercy, that King David was speaking of. The Lord, he called the angel off. You see? Go here. Let's get this real quick, and let's get this real quick. Yes, Sirach 39. All right, it's the book of Sirach, chapter 39, verse 28. It says, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury," okay, and in their anger is put on them by the Lord. See, the angels don't care. They love, who the Lord wants to love, and they hate, and they're angry at what the Lord is angry at. You see, the angels just feel how the Lord feel, and they come and get down. Okay, it says, "Which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them." Okay, so it's the Lord, all right, that dispatched these angels to come get busy, man, to execute his fury and his wrath. And it says, "And appease the wrath of him that made them." So they come to appease the Lord's wrath in the earth, man. Okay, and they ain't finna be unleashed like never before, man. Okay, they ain't finna be unleashed, dispatched to the earth in a way that they ain't never been dispatched to the earth behind Yahweh Shai, man. You see, you devils are done, man, and you 2/3 you niggas are done too, man. Especially you wicked niggas that know that you Israelites, man, that call yourself teachers, man. You're done, man. Okay, when the Lord dispatch, the host from heaven, everything is over. Okay, ain't no coming back from what the Lord about to send. The power that the Lord finna send to the earth, and you wicked niggas talking about Esau gonna regather himself and regroup and come. No, man. After this, after the Lord dispatch Yahweh Shai and the angel, it's over. Ain't nothing else gonna stand. Ain't no opposing force that's gonna be able to recover from what the Lord about to bring to the earth, man. Okay, and it says, fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word, man. So these angels are on deck. You see, on deck, man. All right. Soon as the Lord speak it, they own it. You see, the Most High has so much to his disposal when it comes to judgment, man. Fire, hell, famine, death angels, teeth of wild beasts, okay, the newts, war. You know, he just has so much to his disposal when it comes to judgment, man. Okay, so let's go back to the book of Psalms. I mean the book of 2 Samuel. All right. 2 Samuel 24 and in 17 it says, and David spake unto the Lord when he saw the angel that smote the people and said, lo, I have sinned and done wickedly, but these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, speaking of his people, I pray thee, be against me and against my father's house. You know, King David, yeah, he always moved in integrity, man. You know, but the Lord, you know, just used King David to do that because he wanted to judge. He wanted to jack Jacob. Okay, it says, and Gad came that day to David and said unto him, go up, all right, rear an altar unto the Lord in the threshing floor of Aranah, the Jebusite. And David, all right, according to the saying of Gad, went up as the Lord commanded. And Aranah looked and saw the king and his servants coming on toward him. And Aranah went out and bowed himself before the king on his face upon the ground. And Aranah said, wherefore is my lord the king come to his servant? And David said, to buy the threshing floor and to build an altar to the Lord, that the plague, all right, may be stayed from the people. Okay, and you go here. I want to just get that word real quick. Aranah in the Hebrew. All right, which is in the Hebrew is Aranah. All right, and when you go into it, all right, it says, I shall shout for joy. All right, make ye to shine, or joyful shouting of Yahweh. Joyful shouting of Yahweh. Okay, you know, praise. You see, you know, so King David is getting ready to build his altar, and he's buying the land, you know, from this Israelite man. His name, all right, Aranah, all right, Aranah, okay, which goes into Arahanah, Salaki, Arahanah, and it goes into a joyful shouting of Yahweh, you know, and and it goes into shouting, you know, praising the Lord for their mercy, okay. So going back, verse 23 says, and all these things that Aranah, all right, and all these things that Aranah as a king give unto the king. And Aranah said unto the king, the Lord, thy power accept thee. And the king said to Aranah, nay, but I will surely buy of thee at price, neither will I offer burnt offerings unto the Lord my power of that which doth not cost me nothing. You know, so King David, like he was trying to give it to him, you know, the threshing floor. All right. And, you know, King David was like, nah, I'm gonna buy it. You know, I'm gonna sacrifice to the Lord. I don't want to, all right, sacrifice to the Lord something that was a gift to me. You know, it's a sacrifice. You know, you see. And it says, so David brought the threshing floor, all right, the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. Okay, And David built an altar unto the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel. So he called off the plague. He eventually had mercy. So that concludes, all right, the book of 2 Samuel. Abaratazah. We carry on into the book of Kings. Because like I said, this is our history. So Abaratazah, we just keep trailing through in the spirit. And may you brothers and sisters continue, to be, edified, from this series. I pray that it's all making sense, coming together, the pictures being painted, of our history, because we go into a lot of history, but what history more important than ours, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified. Till next time I say shalom, mashallah, abba, soon, shalom.